wondered where technology could take you? Learn tech skills and how they can prepare you for a variety of novel careers. We have our own Dalia Mcgee, class of 2014, moderating this year's tech panel. She will bring all the energy we need, seeing as how she is also the president of the Alumni Association and is a beast in her day-to-day role supporting Peacock at NBCU. It also helps that she's one of my favorite people and a former colleague from HBO. Take it away, Delia. Hey, you.
Hi. Sorry, y'all. Y'all know the internet be wildin'.
Girl, we said yesterday technology could be a gift and a curse, so you do your thing. Don't you worry and don't you fret.
All right. Hello, everyone. Sorry about this. You know, it's ironic that we're in the out-of-the-box tech careers because I would like to now work in tech so I can fix my internet on my own without having to call these people to fix it. Anyway, I hope that you guys have been having an amazing time. Alex has been keeping it moving. We've got a great, just series of events happening. We've got amazing energy. I heard so many gems. I was taking notes today earlier when Tony Cole gave us a talk at the tech brunch, and then also just getting away from stigma about mental health. So I'm really excited to bring you guys this panel for Out of the Box Tech Careers. So most of you know me, but some of you don't. I am Dalia Mcgee. I graduated in 2014. My corporate sponsor was HBO. I'm now working at Peacock. I spent 5 years out of college working at HBO and then just transitioned in October of 2019. So we're going to just chat a little bit about what it means to be out of the box in tech. You know, there's traditional tech and there's what we're all doing now. For example, when I started at HBO, they always said that we'd never go over the top OTT, right? We'd never have a streaming service. And then 5 years later, here we are with HBO Now and, HBO Max. So things have changed in the last 10 years. And as you'll see, we have some amazing panelists who have done some amazing things. And they've also had illustrious careers that they're going to speak to you about. So first we have Shashi Shamarao. Sorry, I'm messing it up every time. But she's a VP of Video Ops at Charter. She leads video ops, development, software, and video apps for the Spectrum app. We have Jessica Sant. She's a leader, a VP of Entertainment Client Tech and leading Comcast Tech for product and experience. She works in engineering also for the apps for Comcast, Xfinity, X1, and Flex, and Stream. And then we have Leo Anderson, who's our Exec Director of Affiliate Ops at Fox. And he manages all the 4K asset distribution, over 120,000 affiliates across the world. And so we're here to just give you guys kind of a view of what we've seen in our careers, how you guys can prepare for the future, and what's next. So I think we all can answer this first question, but before you answer, you can maybe talk a little bit about your career. So we'll kick off this question with what is your favorite thing about working in tech?
I'll jump right in. I think my favorite thing is that it changes daily. It's constantly moving, and starting my career over 30 some years ago, seeing where we are now and how things are converging and moving. The fantastic thing is tech is constantly changing and evolving. Obviously, due to COVID, we were forced to accelerate some things that we were ideating on. But that's the fascinating thing right now, that is ever changing, constantly evolving, and always look forward to the next thing and what's new.
Yeah, I'll go next. Playing right off of what you said, Leo, I completely agree. I think, one of the things I always tell folks is that one of the things I like most about tech and also in my job in particular is that there's always new problems to solve. And even, if you solved one problem 3 years ago, there'll be a slightly different version of it this year to solve. And then you can take your experience that you learned 3 years ago solving that one problem and apply it to your new team or this new problem or anything like that. But yeah, it's always changing. You always have, new problems to solve. And as an engineer, right, that's the kind of thing we get up for, and finding ways to impact problems and challenges and opportunities.
I can take next. So my favorite thing is, as Leo and Jessica mentioned, technology is ever evolving, and it is changing so rapidly that it keeps us fully engaged, and it opens up lots of opportunities for us. So if you look back like 20, 25 years back, we used to see the television sets, which were so bulky and, had a very small screen space with CRT, cathode ray tubes, and they used to consume a lot of your space in the living room. But today, after 20 years, we are seeing same television sets, which are so lean and it can be available in so many different sizes and offer so much of content that we cannot even imagine. In fact, we don't even need a television these days. We have so much of content available at our fingertips. We can pretty much play on any device, anywhere. And these type of transformation brings a lot of opportunity for us. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, these type of opportunities kind of brings a lot of challenges, and we need to be constantly learning to stay abreast with this technology so that we can be successful. So that's what makes me super excited to work in the tech industry.
Yeah, I think you just touched on something that the example of TV, right, makes the most sense, because I think that's the thing we've all seen evolve. Maybe also cell phones or house phones for those of us who had them or saw them. But what's like something that you know now about tech that you didn't know when your career started? So I gave the example earlier, but when I started at HBO, it was 2010, and Netflix was basically the only player, and people were like, in the halls of HBO, they were like, oh, we're never going to go over the top. We're never going to have streaming. Our bread and butter is broadcast and linear. And so I think like it's so interesting that we ended up with all of the streaming bubble now that is an entire industry in itself. And so I'm just curious if you guys have a thought of like, what's something like that where you didn't know it and now you know it.
I can take that.
Go for it, Shashi.
Okay. Yeah, when I started my careers a year ago, right, technology was not as popular, especially in all of the industries. There were some industries like, who were developing the websites and applications. They were quite familiar, but not every industry had that opportunity. Lots of organizations were kind of stuck with the manual, mechanical, laborious kind of work. They did not even expect, one day we would see all of us are completely ingrained in technology from A to Z. For example, when I started my first job in India, debit card concept was a brand new concept. Not many people were familiar with it. They were familiar with credit cards, but debit card never existed. And as part of my first job, we were building electronic purse, which kind of imitates the bank account with the lesser features. And it allows to do you like basic things like withdrawal, debit, credits, and all of those things, but not giving full, complete feature. And in India, most of the people relied upon going to bank, doing all of their transactions. So when we first introduced this, we saw like mixed emotions from people. Some people were very apprehended because they thought, it's kind of a fraud. There is a lot of risk. They will take away our money and go run away, all of those things. But some people were excited. They thought like it's a good solution to have. We don't have to go to the bank so much, stand in the line and wait for things to be done. So it's kind of, a different perspective. So what I feel is, as we are growing up, we are seeing a lot more change in technology. And I never thought when I started my career that without a technology, we can do anything in future. We are like every day in our day-to-day life, we are so much stuck with technology, whether it is mobile phone, computers, or, even in your garage, opening the garage and getting the car out, everything is technology related. So we are so much stuck with technology, and I only see it growing more and more.
Yeah, I think you make a lot of good points there, Shashi. I think, not only is the technology totally changing, and you don't want to ever make assumptions. And Delia, you mentioned the same thing, like about HBO made an assumption they would never go into OTT. I think the other thing that I would say is like don't make assumptions too about yourself, and thinking about, oh, well, you started your career in this one industry and this one technology or this one skill set. And so that's where you're going to be staying. And I think making sure that you're open to the ideas of how are all the different ways you can apply the skills and the technologies that to work on a different field or a different industry or anything like that. So my quick story is, right out of college, I got a job with a company who was an alternative medicine startup, right? They were going to be the WebMD of alternative medicine, right? And Leo's laughing because it was like the thing, right? And so this is 2000 is when I graduated college, and then the .com bubble burst, which is kind of similar to what just happened last year with COVID, where like suddenly like everything crashed and like people were pulling back job offers and all of that. And so I got laid off 7 days after starting my new job, my first job ever. And the great thing is that, luckily there was still a lot of other jobs out there. And, about a couple months later, I got a new job, and my career has made a bunch of really great turns, and I've been able to build up my skill sets and apply what I've learned in previous companies or previous jobs to these new companies and these new jobs. And so anyway, keep your eyes open and like just look and look at how you can apply your skills from one place to another. Because I think the adaptation of technology and yourself is an amazing combination.
I would take both of those, and to Sashi's point, where we are now, I expected that 30 years ago. I've always been fascinated with technology. I've always taken things apart as an engineer and putting it back together and see how it works and how could I make it better. Using the analogy that we're always on, we're always connected, and getting show my age again, when we, developing internet data on a cell phone actually started in the back of a van in San Diego, with something as big as your kitchen table. That was the modem. And we were happy that we were getting 1.44 kilobits per second speed on our mobile phone. And now we're talking about 5G, which is up to 1 gigabit per second. And that is amazing. But we saw that, or at least I saw that, hey, what can we do once we increase our speeds? So I've been seeing that, and that's great. And so I've always had the mindset of what we could do better, what's on the horizon, even using what we're doing with Fox right now. Obviously with COVID, that's accelerating where we are, is that the traditional TV studio or movie studio, we have cameras and encoders and decoders and processors that's in the work. In the workflow, is that we're doing everything in the cloud. As you can see, we have a physical facility here, but we're doing everything as a new and industry leading. We're doing everything in AWS cloud, and folks only see the end product on the TV or on their phone, but that is a transition that we're leading the effort of doing that. And what's next? More speeds, more opportunity, more services that we can run within the cloud instead of actually on-prem. And so it's unlimited in terms of what we can do and what's next. So I've seen where we are, and I'm excited what's next.
Great. So I think, we talked a little bit about the future, but let's maybe talk a little bit about the past. So can you guys just maybe talk a little bit about what you do right now? Leo, we're looking at you in the office in like the most tech space possible, right? And so just trying to figure out and give the students an idea of what you do, maybe what your day-to-day is, what your job is like. And Leo, maybe, I know it's a ridiculous question in terms of day-to-day, especially for tech, right? But as best you can, maybe just share anything about your current job.
So absolutely. So my team's responsible for all of the Fox assets, specifically the live assets, live events on Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2. We also do Fox News, Fox Business, Fox Deportes. So all the Fox assets are going to be acquired and distributed out of this location that you see behind me that's actually running in the cloud. And so my team's responsible for getting that to our providers, that being Charter, that being Comcast, the Hulus, Fubos, et cetera, the YouTubes. We're also responsible for all the 4K content, which is going to be commonplace within our households. I think that proliferation of 4K TVs, et cetera, and having the bandwidth to actually deliver that content. And my team's also responsible for getting content to all of our affiliates, the 209 affiliates that we have in North America, and also the 1,200 affiliates that we have worldwide. And so it's constantly changing. It is very fast paced. I'm great that I'm here, that I'm in one place, but I'm sure there's a fire that's going on behind me here. So it's ever changing in terms of how we do live content, how we deliver live content, and the last minute changes, albeit due to rain delays or from NASCAR or from baseball, camera issues that we're having at a particular NFL game. And so it's very fast paced, but we totally enjoy it. My team's also responsible for all of our OTT, over the top streaming technology. My team's responsible for, hey, if you can't rewind or fast forward an asset on your VOD on screen, I'm that guy, so you can fuss at me. And so we're doing some cool things and excited. It's very fast paced. There's not enough people that we can do what we do, but what we do and how we do it doesn't exist. And so we're looking for good people that we can train and learn this new technology to move us forward and have that what if mindset in terms of what we can do at Fox to move us forward.
Shashi, do you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Vice President at Charter, managing the IP video operations. My team is responsible for making sure our Spectrum TV app, which is available on mobile devices and also on the connected devices like Roku, Xbox, Apple TV, the application is available and it is providing the experience that customers are looking for. We work closely with companies like Fox, basically from Leo. We take the content and then we make it available to our customers. So my team is not only responsible for getting the application up and running all the time, we are also responsible for delivering the content into different formats and different sizes depending on the type of the device the customer is using. So we have a huge platform called Content Delivery Network, which takes the different services that are coming from our providers like Fox, NBC and all, and then we package it, we create in a format that people can watch it, and then we send it out. And we also manage lots of applications in AWS, which provides the user interface, which helps users to navigate, browse the content, look for what is available, what is personalized for them, what are the recommendations we have. All of those things are also provided by my team. So we manage the entire operations of that. It's a pretty hectic work. It's a lot of pressure. We want to make sure our customers don't have any kind of hiccups in their viewing experience. So we pretty much have to stay on our toes to make sure everything is functioning as expected, whether it is a normal day or major events like election, Super Bowl and all, just to, we need to make sure everything is working as expected. That's what my team is.
That's awesome. Yeah, and so my team is some of my teams are very similar to Sashi's team in that we build out all of the different ways that customers can consume Comcast customers can consume our entertainment products. So Xfinity X1 is our set-top box offering. Xfinity Flex is our OTT aggregator, and Xfinity Stream is similar to the Spectrum app that Shashi was just mentioning, where it's a streaming app that can be delivered on Android, iOS, and Roku to be able to allow our customers to watch all of our content, including the Fox content that Leo's team builds out, as well as the Peacock app that Delia's team builds. And so my day-to-day, I don't code anymore, unfortunately, and I don't do code reviews. But a large part of what my role is working with our product owners to kind of help make sure that we're organized as best we can to be able to deliver all of this work, looking at new ways that we could use technology more efficiently to build out these products, and looking at our architectural and technical direction to see if we want to shift strategies on how we're building things to be able to build them more efficiently, or how we could organize to do all that. I also get to do fun things like budget to make sure that we can pay for all the stuff that we are building and doing it in an efficient manner. my daughter joked with me the other day and said that I need to find a job that is just as important, but uses less spreadsheets and more code. But to be honest, like I really love how my job has evolved and how my career has evolved to, do different angles of technology and looking at how to manage it and how to help make the engineers in my teams be more efficient and so that they can focus on building all the cool stuff, and I can kind of provide cover fire so that they don't have to worry about these other fires that are going on over here, and I can handle that while they can focus on doing a lot of that really great coding and work.
So Delia, can I jump in real quick? I think Jessica made a fantastic point in terms of doing the spreadsheets. It's critical as engineers in terms of what we do on the technical side. But if we can't make a business case, if we can't handle our budgets, it's a moot point. We're going to be dead in the water. So that's something that I've learned while I was still in college. A professor says that you need to have a business acumen, that you can have thoughts and ideals all day from a technical standpoint, but if you can't sell that ideal from a financial standpoint, that being your ROI, what our NPV is going to be, that being net present value, is it a good investment to the folks that actually write the checks? It really doesn't get off the ground. So that's something that we do every day. We do manage a budget. We need to make certain that we stay within budget, and we should be able to at least sell the ideal that we have in our head as engineers, that cool what if. We need to be able to actually sit in the room and articulate and put some numbers behind to support what we're doing, and if it's a good business investment for the company. That is critical for us.
Yeah, no, and Leo, you're exactly right. I think, the communication skills that you have as an engineer when you're an Eng 1, Eng 2, Eng 3, or whatever your company happens to call, like the more junior engineers, your communication skills and what you're going to be communicating about are going to evolve throughout your career, but they are critical from day one, right? So, in the beginning part of your career, you're going to you need to be able to converse really well about the code that you're writing, why you're writing it, why you chose that, how you didn't, and being able to give other people feedback on the code that they wrote or the way that they're approaching a problem and things like that. And being able to do all that communication is incredibly important. And then as you continue up, you're going to be communicating, and as Leo said, being able to make business cases or being able to argue different things with your peers to help find the best solution. And whether you're communicating with your product owners or your business counterparts or anybody to be able to make your case, whether it is, hey, we should start doing this technology, use this technology instead of that technology, or we should implement this class this way as opposed to implementing it that way. All those communication skills are critically important. And so please keep practicing those.
Yeah, completely with completely agree with both Jessica and Leo. I think it is very important not just being a hard code coder, but you need to understand the financial implications. You need to put on your research hat to look out for what is available in the market, what we can use for our best. There are many times the technologies are available, but that may not be feasible because of the expenses that we may incur with it. So we may have to be really smart in figuring out, what works best for our company, what is best for our customers, what can get us the better ROI. All of these things are very important before we jump to conclusion. And, it's such an amazing technology we have today. And I'm sure we will see more technology. So we have to constantly evaluate, and we need to be very agile and flexible in adapting new things. And, it will constantly require a lot of changes on our end, but we have to be open-minded so that we can adapt and move on. Otherwise, we'll be stuck with where we are.
Yeah, I think you guys said a couple of things that I want to just reiterate maybe. So the first thing is about the budget. Every one of us works for a product that is coming to users and consumers. And so all of us as fellows, alum, professionals in the media industry, right, we all consume content. And so the way that happens is really through all of our tech jobs kind of melding together to bring you the best UI experience, to bring you all the right assets, to bring you the right video content. And so I think it's actually really cool that there was examples in there of our overlap, even though we work in different industries, different companies, that the industry allows us to overlap. I think also just tying in the budget, whether you're in tech or not, every company is looking to put a dollar value on what the product is, right? And so what are we doing to get more subscribers, to get more viewers? And so even if you don't work directly in finance or directly with the budget, it should always be on your mind. If you're in marketing, if you're in journalism, how are you driving up the company's value around what content you're providing to your users. So I think all of those were great because they tied in so many different things. And on that vein, I just wanted to maybe expand a little bit on the types of careers in tech that students may or may not know about, right? You guys all talked about your own roles. I work in a more traditional like business operations role, even though I'm on a technical team. I think there was a big mention of like transferable skills and talking about how whatever you learn on your previous job, whether it's coding or something not as technical, you can always move that into your next role. So just curious, if there's anything you guys want to highlight in terms of the non-traditional coding roles that everybody seems to associate with engineering and tech.
I can take that. That there is a notion that mostly technology industry is limited to certain type of individuals with an engineering or a computer science background. However, that's not quite true. Today we can find people from all different educational backgrounds, with different ages, people from all over the world, being part of the technology industry. So we need different skill sets, different perceptions from people, because in order to build anything, whether it is a simple application or a website or a product, we need to use that perception to see, what can actually convince our customers, what does our customer like. And just to give an example, if we are building a car, we can have a hardcore programmers who can actually code the chips or program the engine and other things. But people look from aesthetics. They need good looking cars, right? So we need designers. We need people with artistic mindset who can bring the design and who can convince the customers on what they should be looking for. We need people who are good at planning so that they can deliver on time to our customers. We need people who can also find faults sometimes, because otherwise we wouldn't know what's wrong in it, and our customers can actually face that. And that's the bad place to be in. So we need to have people who can wear that investigation hat and look for faults and help them to address before it is given to the customers. So it's a wide range of skill sets that we require, which all makes the technology as a whole package. Just with a technical background or just with a coding experience, I don't think we can get where we want to get to.
Yeah, I think you brought up a lot of those great perspectives of a lot of the different positions that exist in engineering and in technology. And I think, the thing that I wanted to focus on that you kind of brought up is, to me, it is the combination of those multiple perspectives that is going to help build a really great product, right? If it was a team of, and kind of to Sashi's point, if it was just a team of like engineers and coders who were going to build out a product, let's say like a word processor, you would end up with something maybe like VI or Emacs, that it's like a text-based, very technical, kind of thing. And it does everything you need it to, but it's like really herky-jerky to try to get it to do exactly all those things and not very obvious. Whereas if you had like, product designer, designing the whole thing, it may be beautiful and work, but maybe, and everything is intuitive, but maybe it's not as smooth and optimally, working as it could be if you had a combination of folks, right? So having product and engineering and operations and program management and user experience or experience design and other folks all working together on that project, and all of them having discussions and disagreeing with each other to be able to get to the best idea as opposed to where they all originally started, that's how you develop a really great product. And I think, it's that combination of perspectives from all of those different backgrounds that really, really make a great product. But yeah, there's a gazillion roles. Go ahead, Leo.
I'll give you a scary truth in terms of what I'm looking for is that we are the experiment. When we get out of the bed and we leave our home, that is data, right? What you watch, what you scroll through, what you like on social media, that is data. What you watch on Netflix or on TV from your set-top box or on your phone, that is data. We are the experiment. And from Fox's perspective or any other provider's perspective, that is data that is gold to us, because we can use artificial intelligence. We can use the machine learning to predict what a certain demographic is doing, when they're going to doing it, and how can we use that information to have a particular product or service or show or event, and when do we need to air it, right, that will actually sell to our advertisers. That's critical for us. So data is critical. Data warehousing is critical for us. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of that's important to us. So data for us is something that we're using very, very heavily. But we need to understand that, again, we are the experiment. Everything that we do, who we talk to, how we communicate is information that is used in the back end, knowingly or unknowingly, that providers such as Fox or Comcast or Charter uses every day to maximize our advertising, to maximize the bottom line, that being, dollars and cents.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, because if we don't know what our customers are looking for, what actually they want to see, and if we just provide a monotonous data or content, it may not be very well appreciated. They may not stick around with us for a longer time. So yeah, we use artificial intelligence, we use machine learning as well, and we try to detect, in this particular demography region, like what are they looking for, what type of things they are interested in, what do they want to see from us, and then we collect that data to provide, whether it is an ad or a recommendation or a preferences. We collect all of those data and provide the right content on our end too. So it's very important. I think artificial intelligence has really taken a notch on the technology, and it is really helping us to make wise decisions based on what people are looking for.
All right, cool. So actually, I'm going to do a quick pivot because we've got some questions from the students, and I always want to make sure we get to those questions no matter what. So let's check in there. Our first question comes from Zion. He asks, for everyone, have any of you done master control? And if so, is that a good way to expand my role in the tech side of media production?
Yes, I have, and it is a fantastic entry into media. Everyone that I've hired thus far has started as a media control operator. And so for those that don't know, it's pretty much what you see on TV, specifically within live sports. There's someone behind the scenes that's checking to make sure their audio levels is good, your video is good, and actually switching in and out of commercials is appropriate, verifying our playlists, etc. So yes, I would say as entry to this building here, probably 90% of the time is going to be as at least a background as a master control operator.
Yeah, and that's not my world. That's all that. Luckily, that's all the world that all that complication gets taken care of before it gets to me.
Yeah, it's upstream.
Very capable people like Leo can do that, but not me.
Yeah, same. That's definitely not my wheelhouse. So I hope that answers the question. We have another question. What are some good tech skills you believe good journalists to have? And so obviously a lot of our audience are media, journalists and maybe like production majors and stuff. So I think this probably applies to a lot of people. Again, the question is, what are some good tech skills you believe good journalists have?
Yeah, I love this question. My cousin is actually a writer for Politico magazine, and formerly, prior to that, was at Quartz. And it's been great watching her career thrive. But one of the things I imagine, I think tech skills are important for everybody. And I think, and Leo was kind of touching on this before, being able to communicate and get your story across to people is essential. And so not only do I think it's important for journalists to have technology skills, I think it's really important for technologists to have really great writing and communication skills. So I think it goes both ways. I think, in particular, I would imagine for a journalist being able to utilize technology to better get your information across, right? Because certainly a lot of times the written word is exactly the thing you need, but also there's that adage of a picture is worth 1,000 words, and more, I think, moving pictures or moving diagrams or different ways of displaying data is also an additional or even the way that you need to be able to communicate your message or your story or whatever the thing is you're trying to get across. And so learning things like I mean, things as simple as Excel to be able to, create charts and graphs to communicate the data that you want. But even getting more into data visualization and that world, I imagine could be incredibly important in being able to communicate a story in different ways.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Jessica. I think communication plays a big role, but at the same time, there are technologies that can help, because these days you get so much of news information. You get lots of information, but you would need to know what is valid, what is not good, and you have to do a lot of assessment on your own. Having technology at your fingertips will only help you to look through, understand the reality before actually communicating to the world, because communication plays a vital role in all our lives, and it is a very powerful, so we need to use it better. So we need to have more reliant information to communicate, and technology can certainly be used to extract and analyze what is the good information that you can pass on.
We see it daily in terms on YouTube as content creators. A lot of times as journalists, right? They create their storyboard. They put the ideals in terms of what they want to do, but in addition to, they need to do the editing portion of it, which is a technology-based medium to do that. Create your graphics, your bumpers, right? And actually, having the medium to upload it, it all converges into that. So we do it every day, knowingly or unknowingly. From a journalist standpoint, as a content creator, that's exactly what you do.
Okay, so what would you classify as the basics of tech skills that every potential employee should have? I personally think the basic like suites, Google Suite, Microsoft Suite, those types of things. Communication, I don't know, I guess that's not a tech skill, but I would say technical writing. A lot of things that we do is send emails. I feel like that's the bane of some of our existence, right? And if you're not working directly on a system or, editing or coding or something, you might have to relay information. So I think technical writing to get to a concise and specific point is always really critical. I write up a lot of requirements, so it's a very important skill for me to be able to do that. But I'm curious what the rest of you kind of think, maybe one or two basic tech skills.
I'll give you one. It's a critical one, is that you got to have a interest in it. If you don't have the interest to do it, you're dead in the water. So we talk about tech all day, but again, as I use me for an example, is I've always had a general curiosity of technology, right? And so if you don't have that, you're I will say you're fooling yourself. Follow your interest, but again, you have to have an interest to do it. You got to have married with a little bit of aptitude, because we can teach you that. But if you don't have the general curiosity or the passion, I always tell my people, wake up with some passion before you walk through these doors here. So if you don't have the passion and the general interest in it, that's your basic skill in my eyes.
Yeah, and I think, in terms of tech skills, right, like it's going to depend on the job family, right? As an engineer, they're going to need to know GitHub and Java, or GitHub and like a couple programming languages, or in testing, they're going to need to know this or that. And I think so that's really going to depend on job family. I think Leo's point of really needing that curiosity and that desire to learn is key. And the one I would add to that, and actually one of the interview questions that I ask for every job, no matter what level I'm interviewing for, is tell me about a time that you disagreed with your boss, with somebody on your team. And I'm not talking about like disagreement or like, yes, I'm right, no, you're wrong. But yes, I think this is a bug, or no, I don't. Or I think we should implement it this way, and not that way. And being able to have those conversations and those disagreements in a very collaborative and helpful way is essential for working on a team and helping to come up with like the best outcome. And so the ability to communicate and disagree, to me, is a skill that everybody needs, no matter what level you're at.
Yeah, before you chime in, I just want to say, I think in our last panel, we were talking about like focusing on your future. And I think, Kathy and Tracy probably touched on that, but I think that is critical. I'm literally in the process, I'm presenting on Thursday a deck to my boss because I disagree with something. And, you know, in order for me to do that, though, I need to be able to say, okay, well, what would she need in order to make this change and agree with me? And so then it's, well, what are the problems? What do I see? What are the changes? You know, you have to be able to put pen to paper around the metrics of whatever you're presenting or things like that. And so practicing those skills around peacefully or respectfully disagreeing, but giving reason for leadership to make that change is entirely critical. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and kind of exactly on your point, right? Like I usually ask two questions. It's tell me about a time that you disagreed with your colleague and how did you handle that? And I'm not always interested if you won the argument or not, right? Like I'm actually even more interested if you both started somewhere and ended here, as opposed to like you all ended here, right? Or whatever that is. Right. But then the follow-up question is, now tell me about a time that you disagreed with your boss or your boss's boss and how you handled that. Because sometimes it may be the exact same approach. And to your point, like sometimes it's a different approach. You have to talk to that. You might have to present the information in a slightly different way and put yourself in, because it may be harder to put yourself in your boss's shoes as it is to your colleague's shoes, right? Anyway, right. But I think that is great that you're doing that. And that is, again, the exact question, like two of the questions that I ask in every interview.
Yeah.
I think all of you covered most of the skills. In my opinion, yeah, as all of you discussed, basically, it's very good to have the data collected. You know, once you have the data at your hand, you know, you can provide the facts on why you want to make this case, whether you are agreeing with this case or not. You need to have the data. For that, we need to use some of the basic tech skills to collect and put together so it can create a story to tell why you want to go with this.
Yeah. All right. So next one is a little bit more difficult. So someone said, in terms of the tech field, do you have any advice on dealing with imposter syndrome for students/new hires who are entering into such a competitive and fast-paced industry?
I have a major case of imposter syndrome. I will fully admit, and have talked about it at work, you know, plenty of times. And I think, so for those who are not familiar, because actually when I told my boss that I had imposter syndrome, he had no idea what it meant. He had no idea, you know, what it was. And so imposter syndrome is basically, you know, somebody who is a very capable person and can do a ton of things, has either low confidence or just, you know, they think that maybe they shouldn't have the job that they have or the role that they have, and they kind of feel like an imposter in their job. And even though when having a reasonable conversation with them, they can tell you like, these are the reasons why I have this job and why I know I belong here, you still have this like underwhelming feeling or overwhelming feeling of feeling like you shouldn't be there. And so even though part of my brain totally reasonably knows that like why I deserve to be a VP and lead the teams that I do and have the role that I have, there's another voice in my head saying like, oh my God, you don't deserve to be here. And it's this funny dichotomy of things. And so, you know, for me, one of the ways that I approach it a lot is kind of that fake it till you make it kind of thing. And just, you know, try to shut that other part of my brain down that tells me I shouldn't be there, and just try to fake it and pretend that I should, until I finally gain enough confidence by seeing myself doing it, that like, I know I should be there and that I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing and all of that. Sometimes if I'm going into a meeting where like I just feel a lot of imposter syndrome about being able to stand in front of a group and speak, a lot of it is coming up with talking points to myself to like, so I know what I'm going to talk about and know what kinds of things I need to have on the top of my brain, so I have that confidence to come into the room. And so I think looking at what are those things that are feeding into your version of imposter syndrome, and thinking about ways that, you know, things that you can do to help counteract those specific things, and give yourself that confidence, is what will be the right for you. And it may also be, like I said, telling your boss and explaining to them what it is so that they can also help you feel more confident and get over it.
Yeah, I think sorry, just real quick. I think the other thing is interview your job as they are interviewing you, you know, especially for new hires, like ask questions that you think will help make you more comfortable. And so if you want to know how they handle the pandemic, ask that question. If you want to know how they treat employees, ask that question. You want to know about culture, you know, there are things that I think now, especially with the way the world has changed, that you can ask that will help ease your own thoughts about actually starting a job. And so make sure you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. Go ahead, Leo.
Jessica, I think you kind of touched on it. The latter point is that communicate with your peers or your bosses and let them know how you feel. Any good manager or leader will listen to that and actually offer some advice. The big thing is, it is what it is, the imposter syndrome. You put yourself on an island and you start thinking about what you're not, you're less than, and that's not where you want to be. So the moment that you open up in terms of talking to peers or your leadership and say, this is how I feel, and having open dialogue, it's helped me to get outside of my own self, which I'm my own worst enemy. It's just like, this is how I'm feeling, how can I work? And a lot of times they'll let you know, either good or bad. It's like, no, you're doing a fantastic job. Or two, it's like, there's some room for improvement. That way you remove that ambiguity and that imposter syndrome, and you have absolutes. And that's where you need to be.
And I think knowing that everybody started off junior, right? So knowing that you are not alone, you are, and some people may appear to be more confident or appear to be like they have it all, and like, trust me, they do not. And something, and also sometimes like, even admitting, like, and I've admitted in front of an all hands meeting of 800 people that I have imposter syndrome, and immediately got 6 or 7 DMs like, oh my God, I never would have thought that. Thank you for saying that. I thought I was alone, right? Like, you're not alone.
Yeah, and rely on your I'm a Bowen peers, like you guys have a graduating class. There's a bunch of you that are going through this. Obviously rely on alumni also, but you guys are all in the same boat. And that I think will also bond you by talking through those things with the people that you're going through it with.
Yeah, in my opinion, preparation makes the biggest on the list. If you're prepared, no matter whatever you're dealing with, if you do your homework to be, to have all the information with you, I think you will gain more confidence. And just don't focus on your weakness. Nobody is perfect. Nobody knows everything. We are all learning. Even now, today, I am still learning, the things that are happening in my world. So there is no way you can expect you to be perfect. Don't set a super high expectation that you need to be a perfectionist, and just do the preparation, talk to people, let them know if you are not fully thorough or you need help. People are ready to help you, and they can help you get out of this syndrome, actually, because it's just that you have to be open-minded, speak to people, get their feedback, and take that in a positive way and improve on and do your preparations. That's all.
Sorry, y'all, there may be some noise next door. The grass is being mowed, or there's weed whackers or whatever, so apologies. So our next 2 questions actually kind of tie together, I think. What are some tips for keeping up with the many changes and innovations of tech? But then also in your time in the industry, what has been your biggest challenge in terms of a learning curve? So I think it's kind of like, how are we supposed to keep up with everything that's going on, and what have been your challenges in terms of trying to keep up?
So in my opinion, keeping up with the technology, obviously, we have so many things that are coming in. You cannot keep up with everything, but you need to focus on what is more important for you, what area you're interested in, and then, listen, attend the conferences, listen to the technical discussions, podcast, read books, and sometimes just get on the technology and try to get your hands wet. There are so many websites which allows you free training or cheaper trainings. You can just sit at your couch and take those trainings and, keep trying what actually helps you, what makes you more comfortable. And once you see that, you can navigate into that direction and explore your career in that direction as well. So for me, one of the biggest challenge was, I was always working like a software engineer and programmer. And when I started taking the leadership role, it was very difficult for me initially because I was thinking only from the engineering perception. I was not able to look beyond that. So, attending some of the training, understanding what leaders actually need to be aware of, looking from 10,000 feet level, what are the things that we need to be concerned about, how we can manage, how we can ensure we are providing the right atmosphere to our employees. All of these things, helped me a lot. It took a while, but it was an uphill for me. But then I was able to take the necessary tools that are available. These days, Google has so much material. You can learn from there. And there are so many websites where you can take the leadership courses and all. It helped me to get on track. So similar fashion, like the technology, even though I'm in a leadership role, I need to be fully aware of the technology, because if my team is proposing a new technology and if I don't understand what it is, then I won't be able to support it. So I have to stay in touch, and I have to keep learning about what new technology, what is this, how is this going to help, and implement it.
Yeah, I think Sashi's exactly right. You cannot keep up with every single tech thing, every single new technology that comes out there, and so you need to pick and choose. And you also, so going back to what Leo said, be curious and dive into things that you find interesting. But certainly you need to prioritize what are the things you need to keep up on, and then maybe there's other things that you don't have to be up on all the things, but you need to be aware of them. And so that's largely going to depend on what kind of role that you have, right, or what kind of industry that you're in. And so so being able to prioritize and take the giant gamut of all of the tech things, and going down to well, I'm going to focus on these 2 or 3 for right now, I think is definitely a skill to have. I think the other part of the question was, tell me about a time that your biggest challenge in terms of a learning curve as it relates to technology. So one thing that happens at Comcast and a lot of large companies is that you'll change jobs either within the company, or you'll reorganize and you'll shift focus. And so there's been a few times that I've shifted teams and have had to learn a whole new technology stack or a whole new part of how we build these products as opposed to those products. And it's definitely like drinking from a fire hose, right? And trying to come up to speed on all of these different things. And again, it comes down to prioritizing stuff. And what are the most important things you need to know about first? Because those are going to be the most impactful things that's going to help you make decisions. And then other secondary things that you can learn about, secondary and tertiary things even that you can learn about later. So coming onto a new coding job, it may be, learning the code base that you're going to be in, and then learning about other code bases. Or it could be, if you're going to be a product owner, learning about, the personas and the product that you're building and the type of the industry. So it's all about, prioritizing all of that and shortening the gamut. Go ahead.
I think I'm probably on the other side of it, is that, I want to know anything and everything. I'm curious like that. I love technology. I love innovation. So I want to know any and everything. As I look outside, folks are trimming the trees. It's like, oh, how can I create another tool or something that can make it better? It's being inquisitive about technology. I eat and breathe, TechCrunch and Medium and different everything. So I want to know everything. And a lot of times where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a problem, there's an opportunity there. So I'm probably in the other camp. I want to know about everything. That's how my brain works. And that goes with, technology. In terms of the biggest challenge, when we wake up and come through the door, it's always a challenge. Are we up for the challenge? And that makes what we do exciting in terms of, as we walk out the door, it's just like, hey, I saw it. I saw that mountain and, I overcame it. And what's next? And I've always told my people is always wake up with a what if, that being from the innovative mindset in terms of, yes, we have this problem. What if we did this? What if we made changes here? What if we made some changes on the code? What if we changed this particular encoder setting, etc.? And so it's all inclusive there. So having that inquisitive mindset on how we can make things better, look at problems that's in front of you. How can you overcome it? It's all inclusive. So I hope I answered both of those questions. My mindset is that, drink from a fire hose and be appreciative for it, and make certain that you're up for the challenge.
All right. And then I think our last question is just going to be, if you have one piece of advice to give to our students for their careers, what would it be? I think mine, I say this every year. So again, sorry if you've heard this from me before, but I say this all the time. Everyone's always going to ask you what's next. When you graduate college, when are you getting a job? If you get a job, when are you going to grad school? If you go to grad school, when are you getting a job? If you have a job, when are you getting a PhD? Like, it's always going to be like that. in your professional life, in your personal life, people are always just asking. And so give yourself some grace, give yourself some time. I know there's so much to learn in tech, so just be patient with yourself. The drink from the fire hose like resonated so vividly because it's like, it's not possible, so set yourself up to succeed. Don't set yourself up to be overwhelmed and to, to not fail, but to have a harder time adapting, and be adaptable. Learn where you can, lean on your peers, but just give yourself time to get into the industry and learn the things that you need to know, because I'm learning every day. One of the best things about going to Peacock is that I learn something new every single day about the industry, about how NBC works, about media. And so, keep that in mind, that we're all learning and we're all still adapting to the changes, not just of tech, but the pandemic and how we're conducting our work. And so, just give yourself some grace.
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid, because our life is a journey where we are learning a lot more, and every day we will come across new things. So be open-minded and learn. If you don't like, these days companies are so open-minded and they are ready to accept and provide more opportunities for you to try and help you excel in your career as well. So don't be afraid to try different parts of the company, and whichever works well for you, you can stick onto it. And it's a great journey to learn always something new. So don't be afraid. Try to explore. Even if you don't succeed once, it's fine. You can keep trying until you succeed ultimately.
I'll be brief. My advice is find your network. Every job that I've had has been because of people I have met at a previous, on my previous team, or somewhere else in my network. And so find that network and build that network and stay connected, because you never know how those connections are going to help you solve that next problem, help push out that next project, or even help you find your next job. So network and keep those connections.
Jessica, you're spot on. I've always told my mentors is that we've always heard the term or the saying is that it's not what you know, but who you know. But there's always a third component that everyone forgets about is, do they know you? You need to develop that network. I always tell folks that if you're not on LinkedIn, I can't talk to you. You need to get off of Instagram. You need to get off of Facebook and cultivate that network. Introduce yourself. Don't connect, but introduce yourself, because once they start connecting the dots, it's like, hey, Sarah or Joe is interested in this particular position, and I've had conversation with Sarah and Joe, and oh, by the way, I know someone that maybe has an opportunity that they will be a great fit. That's how you connect those dots. So you need to learn to cultivate your network. And close that third point is, do they know you? Make certain that they know you, not just by what you know, but will they be willing to extend their network to you based upon your personal relationship? Cultivate your network.
Thank you. I think that's a perfect way to wrap, especially coming off of our last panel about focusing on your future. So I'd encourage everyone to take this time to introduce yourselves to all of us on LinkedIn. Find us, introduce yourselves, make a connection. I know there was one question we didn't get to from Sally about privacy and data, but honestly, I don't even know if we could have answered it, because that's a whole nother panel in itself. But I want to thank our panelists. You guys have been amazing. I think sometimes our tech panels can get a little dense, but I think this has been really enjoyable and fun. So thank you guys for joining. I'm going to pass it over to our MC, Alex. Thank you.
Aha, thank you. This was great. I think you all, not only gave professional advice, but also gave personal advice for your personal and professional growth. And Shashi, you are right. Okay, preparation is key. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Prepare properly or get punched in the face from pessimistic public perception. Remember that in that order. But yes, that is completely true. Media and tech companies are now one and the same. It's kind of like if I asked you, what does Amazon do? And you said everything, you'd be correct. If I said, what does Amazon do? And you said, I don't know, you'd also be correct. Okay, the possibilities are endless in tech. So thank you to Delia, Shashi, Jessica, and Leo for sharing your knowledge about this. Okay, connect with them on LinkedIn.